The studio audience thought they were in for another light-hearted interview, a mix of behind-the-scenes anecdotes and promotional chatter. But within minutes, the atmosphere shifted. What began as a routine appearance by Sam Heughan and Caitríona Balfe turned into one of the most explosive revelations in the history of Outlander. In front of cameras, fans, and millions watching at home, the two stars admitted what so many had speculated for years. There was a time when their feelings for each other went beyond the script. The host had asked what seemed like an innocent question. After so many years of playing Jamie and Claire, did it ever get confusing? Did the line between acting and reality ever blur? It was the kind of prompt both actors had dodged countless times before, usually with a laugh and a charming deflection. But this time, the silence was telling. Caitríona glanced at Sam. Sam looked down, his trademark grin faltering. Then, with a nervous chuckle, Caitríona broke the tension. "I suppose, when you're doing as many intimate scenes as we did, it would be dishonest to say there weren't moments when feelings got complicated." The room went still. For nearly a decade, fans had speculated endlessly about the depth of their chemistry. Entire online communities had debated whether it was just acting or something more. And now, in a single sentence, Caitríona had cracked the facade. Sam followed her lead, nodding in agreement. "We spent years filming scenes that most actors might only do once or twice in their career. They were intense, emotional, vulnerable. You can't go through that and not feel something. Yes, there were times I thought, this is more than just acting." The audience gasped audibly. Social media feeds lit up as viewers at home clipped the exchange and rushed to share it. The hosts were stunned into silence before recovering enough to ask the obvious. "So you're saying you actually had feelings for each other?" Caitríona's answer was careful, but there was no denying its impact. "We were very close. We cared about each other deeply. Those feelings were real, even if they belonged to a time and place that was part of the job." Sam echoed her words, adding, "It wasn't something we acted on. But yes, there were genuine emotions. You can't fake that kind of chemistry without letting some part of yourself get involved." For years, the rumor mill had thrived on half smiles, knowing glances, and the kind of body language that seemed to scream intimacy. Fans pointed to every interview, every red carpet appearance, convinced there was more happening off-screen. Caitríona's marriage in 2019 to Tony McGill had been a blow to the shippers, but still the speculation never truly died. Now, this admission poured gasoline on the fire. Within minutes, entertainment outlets scrambled to rewrite their headlines. Outlander stars admit they once had real feelings. Sam and Caitríona drop bombshell confession. Blogs and gossip columns dissected every word, analyzing the difference between feelings and love, between moments and something more. For the first time, there was no need for fan theories or tabloid speculation. The actors themselves had confirmed what everyone had always suspected. And yet, the admission came with a haunting caveat. Neither Sam nor Caitríona framed their feelings as present-day realities. Both were clear that whatever spark had existed belonged to the past, to the blurred space between their characters and themselves. But that distinction was quickly lost in the tidal wave of reaction. Fans flooded Twitter with emotional outbursts. Some cheering, some crying, some furious at the thought that their fantasies had been real, if only for a moment. The live audience, still stunned, erupted into nervous applause. The host leaned back in his chair, shaking his head in disbelief. Well, that's something the world did not see coming. And indeed, it wasn't. For years, Sam and Caitríona had played the game of denial and deflection, guarding their private lives with discipline. This time, however, they had chosen honesty, and the world would never be the same. But even as the clip spread like wildfire, one question began to dominate every conversation. Were these feelings fleeting sparks born of long hours and intimate scripts, or had Sam and Caitríona just admitted to a love story they never fully allowed themselves to live? The line between fiction and reality had always been blurred in Outlander. Now, for the first time, the actors themselves had admitted that the fire wasn't only on-screen, and the fallout from that revelation was only just beginning. The moment Sam Heughan and Caitríona Balfe admitted they once had feelings for each other did not stay confined to the four walls of a television studio. Within minutes, the confession was clipped, uploaded, and shared across every platform imaginable. By the time the show ended, the internet was already ablaze with one unified sentiment: shock. Fans who had spent years arguing in forums and Twitter threads suddenly felt vindicated. "We knew it, we weren't crazy," one fan tweeted with shaking hands emojis. Others posted crying gifs, declaring they had waited nearly a decade for this confirmation. The word feelings trended globally, as did hashtags like #Sam and Kate, #Outlander confession, and even #True Love Exposed. For many, it felt like the fantasy of Jamie and Claire had spilled into reality, blurring the line they had long insisted was already thin. But alongside the joy came chaos. A second wave of fans responded with anger, confusion, even betrayal. Caitríona, after all, is married. Her husband, Tony McGill, had always kept himself far from the limelight, but now his name was dragged into the frenzy. "What does this mean for Tony?" one commenter asked, while others went further, accusing Caitríona of humiliating him on a global stage. Suddenly, the fandom wasn't just celebrating a revelation, it was tearing itself apart, dividing into camps that defended Caitríona's honesty and others who condemned her for crossing a line. The tabloids wasted no time pouring gasoline on the fire. "Caitríona admits real feelings for Sam. What about her husband?" screamed one headline. Another framed it more aggressively. "Love triangle exposed. Caitríona confesses on live TV." Overnight, entertainment outlets resurrected every rumor from the past decade, weaving them into a narrative of forbidden love, near misses, and secrets finally unveiled. Every red carpet photo of Sam gazing at Caitríona was reprinted. Every quote where they praised each other was reframed as evidence. Sam, too, found himself at the center of the storm. While Caitríona's marriage became the lightning rod, Sam's silence after the interview only intensified speculation. Fans demanded he clarify whether his feelings had gone deeper than he admitted. Others pressed him to reveal if he ever wanted more, if he had ever considered crossing that line between friendship and romance. His refusal to expand on the confession only fueled the frenzy. His silence was read as mystery, his calm demeanor as proof that something bigger was still being hidden. Meanwhile, Caitríona's confession reverberated into her marriage. Though Tony McGill remained publicly silent, the tabloids painted him as the wounded spouse, blindsided by his wife's words. Social media piled on, with some criticizing him for being too absent, too invisible, while others defended him, arguing that he was the victim of a fandom that refused to separate fiction from reality. For the first time, the private man became a character in the saga, whether he wanted to or not. Hollywood insiders began whispering about the professional fallout. Some praised Sam and Caitríona for their candor, calling the confession a rare moment of authenticity in an industry built on facades. Others warned it could backfire, suggesting their careers might now be overshadowed by a scandal rather than their talent. Producers fretted about how the revelation would affect the final season of Outlander. Would fans tune in with renewed passion, or would the drama off-screen distract from the story on-screen? Yet through the chaos, one truth became undeniable. The bond between Sam and Caitríona had always been more than surface level. Their confession only confirmed what fans had felt in their bones since day one. Whether fleeting or profound, those emotions had existed, and they had seeped into every frame of Outlander. Suddenly, the fiery intimacy that made Jamie and Claire so unforgettable no longer felt like acting. It felt like history, lived and remembered, hiding just beneath the characters' faces. And that raised a deeper, more unsettling question. If their feelings were real, even for a time, what stopped them from becoming something more? Was it timing, loyalty, fear of destroying the show's chemistry? Or was it, perhaps, the weight of the very fandom now celebrating their confession? As fans battled online and tabloids spun their narratives, one thing became clear: the confession had changed everything. The myth of Sam and Caitríona as just friends was shattered. The fantasy of Jamie and Claire had leaked irreversibly into real life. And the world was left to grapple with the consequences of two actors daring to admit that even in a job built on make-believe, sometimes the feelings were real. For some, it was validation. For others, heartbreak. For everyone, it was unforgettable. Because in the end, Sam and Caitríona's confession was more than a bombshell. It was the revelation that the greatest love story of Outlander might not have been confined to the screen at all.